What's going on, guys? Welcome back to another Nick 4K video. As you might be able to hear, I am still sick. I should be good to go by the next video you guys watch, but we'll see. However, the show must go on. In today's video, we're going to be watching The Critical Drinkers, The Joker 2, the sequel nobody wanted. This is probably the most divisive movie I have seen in a long time. I have seen people give it praise and call it amazing, and I've seen people say it is awful, it is terrible. Now for me, I actually am considering going to see it because of it being so divisive. I want to see which side is actually right when it comes to the argument here. Like, ironically, if I heard it was amazing, I would probably just wait for the 4K Blu-ray to drop anyways. But since I'm hearing either it's amazing or it's terrible, I kind of want to see it now, which is kind of funny. As far as my feelings go towards the first movie, I thought it was fine. I thought it was a very solid standalone film. It didn't need a sequel. So I guess we're going to check out The Critical Drinkers' thoughts. So if you enjoyed this video and want to see more like this, make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. And let's begin.
Wow, I guess time really does make fools of us all. The first Joker movie was one of those rare moments of cinematic serendipity where everything that should have been wrong somehow came together to become absolutely right. A low-budget origin story about a Batman villain that nobody asked for, directed by a guy best known for making comedies that proved the law of diminishing returns, and shadowed by media accusations of promoting violence, misogyny, and generalized buffoonery. It was a film that seemingly had everything going against it, but somehow turned out way better than it had any right to be. In a sea of oversaturated CGI sludge, the Joker dared to tell a small, intimate, complex story of a man pushed into madness and despair by a society that was blindly indifferent to him. A movie with a wonderfully unreliable narrator, driven by a superb performance by Joaquin Phoenix, and an ending that left the audience with more questions than answers. It was a perfect one-and-done movie that told its story and told it well. No need to do anything more with a character like that, because it would just cheapen the experience. So, like the rest of you, I was a bit perplexed when I found out that Joker was getting a sequel, and even more concerned when it was announced as a musical co-starring Lady Gaga. But just like everyone else, I tried to suppress my doubts and ignore that nagging feeling in the pit of my stomach that this movie was fundamentally a bad idea. Surely to goodness Todd Phillips knows what he's doing and wouldn't just shout out some lame cash grab sequel that undermines the integrity of the original, right?
Wrong.
Then I sat down and watched it. And if all 2.5 hours of Joker Folie proves anything at all, it's that sometimes you really ought to listen to your instincts. Yeah, there's definitely good elements in there. You can see that talented people were working on this movie, and the ending is definitely going to get people talking. But overall, Joker 2 felt like a dull, bloated, and ultimately unnecessary movie that failed to answer the question that's dogged it since the beginning. Why does this film even exist? Now, I know.
Yeah, that's kind of how I felt about it too. When I first heard that they were making a Joker 2, I was thinking to myself, like, why? You know, the first one was just a nice, solid, standard film. Just, it did what it's supposed to do. It didn't need a sequel. So when I heard they were making one, and then I heard Lady Gaga was involved, and it was going to be kind of like a musical, I thought this could either be amazing, or this could be absolutely terrible. Now, like I mentioned in the beginning of this video, there's two sides of this. There's people who absolutely love this movie. There's people who absolutely hate this movie. Kind of seems like The Critical Drinker is probably on the hateful side. That's understandable. But it is one of those things where when a movie makes $1 billion like the first one did, you know for a fact they're going to make a second one, even if there's no reason to make one. And here's an example, you know?
I know it's just come out and I don't want to spoil it for people, so I'm going to keep my plot summary short and sweet, unlike this fucking movie. So with that in mind, let's go. The story picks up shortly after the events of the first film, where Arthur Fleck has been arrested and locked up in Arkham Asylum while he awaits trial for all the murders that he committed. His lawyer wants to plead insanity, while the prosecutor Harvey Dent's pushing for the death penalty. Bad times indeed. But while he's at Arkham, he meets a young woman named Lee Quinn and soon starts a bit of a romance with her. But is it really Arthur that she's into, or is Joker personality? And what's her true motivation for being there? Well, you'll have to wait and find out. Anyway, the case goes to trial, and Arthur's soon confronted by the reality of what he did in the first film by going over most of the key events again. But how responsible was he for what happened? Was the Joker really a split personality that took over him, or just part of him all along? And what will Harley Quinn think of him when she finds out the truth? Joker 2 is kind of a frustrating movie to watch because in a lot of ways I can see how hard many of the people involved are trying to make it work. Joaquin Phoenix delivers the same intense, compelling performance as the first movie, arguably a bit too similar, but we'll get into that one in a minute. The point is though, he's definitely given the role his all and some of his scenes are genuinely compelling. Lady Gaga, much to my surprise, also turns in a good performance as a crazy superfan enamored by the flamboyant persona of the Joker rather than the flesh and blood man behind it. And if you're inclined to look for themes in this film, it's an interesting insight into the intoxicating danger of celebrity and the vast gulf between myth and reality. The two actors play well off each other and the kind of twisted romance they cultivate seems pretty appropriate for a movie like this, and the film even has you questioning which of their interactions even happened for real. It doesn't do it as effectively as the first movie, but it's something at least. The thing is, I'm pretty sure that the comic version of Quinn was more like the Joker's plaything rather than a manipulative femme fatale stringing him along, but again, it probably fits with what we know about this version of Joker. And I guess that brings me along to my criticisms, the biggest of which is the deconstruction of Arthur himself. The ending of the first movie saw him fully embrace his Joker persona, shedding the last remnants of his old, weak, victimized personality and embracing the madness of the world around him. It was a logical endpoint for a man who had been desperately trying to swim against the tide for most of the film, and it was kind of cathartic to see him finally let go. It was a final fuck you to the world that had kicked him to the ground again and again. A world reduced to fire and chaos. All of that good work seems to have been undone here because for most of the film he's reverted to the same weak, timid Arthur that he was at the start of the first movie. And I can't shake the feeling that there's something almost mean-spirited in that kind of deconstruction, as if they're taking a swipe at the audience themselves for liking someone they weren't supposed to.
There's that happens to a lot of sequels. Now there are movies that were obviously had like sequels planned. Like think of like the first Spider-Man, like the Tobey Maguire movies. You know, they made the first one. They definitely had the ideas for the second one ready to go. Illumination does that. They do like one movie and then they'll do like a second one to also go with that first one's assets that they made so they can make more money off the assets they used for the first movie. But this is one of those situations where they probably didn't really know where to go with it. You know, the director made the first movie and then WB pulled up like, hey, that made $1 billion, so make another one, please. And the director's like, I don't really have a story. And then WB was like, well, we have a lot of money that we're going to pay you, so just make something. And he's like, all right, I'll just kind of make whatever I want. And that is kind of the gist I'm getting from this film. So like people who are like, who like deeper films that are kind of like super creative in the sense of taking chances really seem to love this film because it just kind of does whatever it wants and it doesn't care if you like it or not, which is respectable. But at the same time, making movies is a business. And if you're not making movies that people like, that people want to go see, that people will spend money for it, you're not making money off that business. And therefore you are technically not doing it right. So I do think there's always this level, I mentioned this in plenty of my videos in the past, but there's a level between business and a level between creativity where you need to be able to find the middle ground between the two of those. As far as your budgets go, as far as your creative freedoms and liberties you want to take, you kind of have to find a good middle ground where a movie makes sense to make based on its budget and based on its source material. And I think the Joker 1 kind of blew up out of nowhere. They weren't really expecting it to do as good as it did. I think everyone knew the Joker 1 was going to do pretty good, but no one expected $1 billion out of that movie, which is crazy. I don't know. This is one of those things where, like I said, the director was handed more money to make another one, and so he just kind of threw something together. This sequel was definitely not planned. So it is completely understandable why the director would just kind of try to retread a little bit more, because what worked before could work again compared to just trying to do something, you know, completely off the walls. It is kind of interesting from what I heard from other reviews. This movie is a retread as well as it is completely just spontaneous, out of nowhere stuff going on in it. So that's kind of the reason why I want to watch it. I want to watch it because it sounds so just off the wall and like strange. And I just, as far as movies go, things have become so formulaic. And as much as we want to complain about formulaic stuff like the hero's journey and all that stuff, we love that. There's a reason for why that type of themes have been around for thousands of years, because we love that. That's the way it is. So when something comes along that just kind of does its own thing, even if it's considered bad to a lot of people, I actually respect it. And I might see the movie now because of just like reviews like this, just to check it out. yeah, we'll see.
I don't know, man. It just feels like character regression instead of development for me. Then there's the musical numbers that pepper the narrative. I can't believe I'm saying this because normally I fucking hate musicals, but I actually kind of enjoyed the sheer spectacle and performances while I was watching them. Ha! Gay! And Lady Gaga clearly doesn't have any trouble belting out her numbers. But the more I think about it, the more I see them as shiny objects trying to distract from what's actually a pretty stodgy, bloated and uninspiring drama. The courtroom scenes are basically just a dry recap of the first film, telling us things that we mostly already know, and destroying that awesome sense of ambiguity and unreality that made it such a fascinating story to pick apart. Now we know exactly what did and didn't happen, and shit man, it feels like such a waste. And most disappointingly of all, I actually find myself kind of bored and checked out at times, something that absolutely never happened with the original movie. As I said before, the question hanging over Joker 2 was, is this a story that really needed to be told, or is it just a bunch of talented people doing their best to elevate a studio-mandated sequel into something that it isn't? Well, now that I've seen it, I'm afraid I know the answer, and it's not a good one. Anyway, that's all I've got for today. Go away
now. So there you go, guys. There's another fun video from the Critical Drinker. I don't always agree with him, but I do appreciate how he's very just based when it comes to his thoughts. Like, he doesn't really hold anything back, and I respect that. Like I said, don't always agree with what he has to say, but I do respect his honesty for a lot of his reviews like that. So go definitely check him out if you guys like this video for sure. My thought process on this, I kind of explained it throughout this video, but I want to go see this movie just to see if it really is as bad as people say. Like I said, this might be one of those movies that everyone's going to mostly dislike when it came out, and then like in 10 years, people are going to look back at this movie and be like, it was a misunderstood masterpiece, something along those lines, right? So I guess we'll see. Did you guys see the Joker? Did you not see it? Do you not care? Are you excited to see it? Let me know in the comments below. Make sure to like, subscribe, turn notifications for more. If you want to see any more videos like this, let me know in the comments below, and if I use your suggestion, I'll give you a shout out in the video. But thanks again for watching. I'll catch you later. Peace.